What's up, Otakus? It's your tour guide here. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. So just putting on my brace. So you're probably asking, "Hey, Otaku, why are you going on a Thursday night? What's the deal? Couldn't you wait a day and go on tomorrow at your normally scheduled plan?" Yes, I could have done that. But I went on last night and I was rambling on in my video for a good, I want to say 20, 30 minutes. And then I got into my books and stuff. And then Ron hopped on and was basically like, dude, I can't hear you. There's no audio. And I realized my mic was off. It wasn't working. And the whole video was just a complete waste. So if you got a chance to, Ron caught part of it. But if you were tuning in and thinking, what is this guy doing? Like, can't hear him. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what the video's about. I essentially deleted the video because it was like majority silence and it was just literally this, but with no sound, right? So I'm going on again and we're doing the exact same thing that we covered yesterday, but right, austerity's sake, so it'll remain on the channel. I don't know how many views it's going to get. I don't even know if people are going to continue to be engaged with my channel because of all the issues I'm having with technical, support. So looks like my mic is working today. So I'm just going to assume everything's going out a-okay. And we'll go from there. So we're currently on our number 4 artist. And Brian Bolland is, first off, he's one of the most talented, if not most talented artist in the comic book medium during my collecting era. And obviously that's a huge statement, and there are a lot of artists. In fact, he's not number 1, he's number 4, and you can argue that there's 2 artists on my list, or even either preceding or following the list where Brian Bolland is. You can make an argument for every artist on my top 10, even people outside of the top 10, right? Like, it's a subjective argument. But what I think most people can agree on is the quality of his artwork, how skilled he is at being able to bring images to the page, and the fact that his art has a style that's a little bit dark, a little bit gritty, but also just unmistakably, undeniably his own. And again, we're just going to showcase some books. And this year's list is mainly comprised of artists who have worked on Superman. And these are, I would consider them quote unquote Superman artists. Bolland falls into that category because he has worked on Superman. He has worked on Action Comics. He has worked on Batman, Superman titles. I think the area where you can nitpick is the volume of the Superman work. The artists I've covered up to this point all have a considerable amount of work they've done on Superman. But Brian Bolland is definitely one of those artists. He's done a lot of stuff for DC, but specifically for Superman, it's kind of sparing. But we're going to get into it. So I don't have exactly 10 books, Superman books to show off. I only have 8 books, but what we'll do is we'll kind of feature a couple books just so we have at least 10 or more to show off of his work, and talk about things related to Brian Bolland that I think are significant. So let's get the screen shared now and we'll keep going into it. So I'm going to start off with this book here. This is a book we picked up this year for 50 cents. And I was happy to pick it up because it's just, you know, there was sort of a British wave of creatives that came over during sort of this early 80s period. And primarily from this group, I think the two main talents that came over were Alan Moore and Brian Bolland. These are probably the two big name creatives because of what they went on to do in comic books. Bolland, of course, for the incredible artwork, and Alan Moore for works like The Watchmen. And these two creatives, they not only work together on titles like Judge Dredd and some of the British comics that were coming out that were geared toward adults, a little bit more adult oriented, definitely more graphic in nature. But these two collaborated on The Killing Joke, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I think when you talk about Brian Bolland, and I framed all the artists up to now as you could make an argument that they're a Superman artist. You can make an argument for their legacy character being Superman among the many things. The only exceptions were, I think, Alex Ross. You can make an argument that Alex Ross is broader than just Superman. He's done a lot of other characters, so you can't really pinpoint Alex Ross to a specific character. George Perez's legacy character is, without a doubt, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is, in Volume 2, he really brought the modern version of her to light, and really added a sort of a more grounded origin story and weight to her comic book that kind of brought it out of the silliness of the previous generations of the comic book. Well, Brian Bolland, I think you could make an argument for really two legacy characters. One here, which are showing off Judge Dredd, and that's because he really helped bring this character to life. He was one of the arbiters of the character, and he definitely established the character, or the IP, I should say, to gain the kind of sort of the underground following that it had, which eventually led to it becoming a movie and it continuing to just remain relevant in subsequent generations, because it is a really great story. It's about this sort of dystopian future where police are given the authority of judge, jury, and executioner. They kind of decide on the spot, hey, they met out justice. And so it's a pretty novel idea that I think still remains interesting and entertaining and relevant even to today's audiences. So that is definitely one of Bolland's legacy character. The other legacy character you could make an argument for is this villain right here. It's, you know, it's not every day you attach a legacy villain to an artist, because generally, like artists tend to do something where the protagonist is the hero, right? Like that's where you kind of make the stories and do such. But The Killing Joke was such monumental work. I mean, it was not like a big voluminous story. It was a one shot. It was pretty much a comic book, right, in terms of its size. But the timing of the book, it came out just right before the Batman movie really hit. The subject matter of the book, very dark, very violent, very psychologically and emotionally uh, psychotic and violent. I read it as a kid, kind of got traumatized, but the thing is, like, the art and the story were so good, I kept kind of like masochistically coming back to read it again and again and traumatizing myself again and again. And that's how good it was. Hey, Tyler, what's up, man? Right? Brian Bolland, so good. So again, he comes out with A Killing Joke, really establishes himself with the work. Alan Moore as well, as the industry's finest at that time. And Bolland has kept his end of the bargain by just continuing. I mean, this book came out. I want to say it's just like it's been a few years, right? This came out. Oh, it came out in 2001, so no, it's been a while. But I mean, look at the brilliance of this art. Just so creepy and so Joker. I mean, like, that is the Joker right there. I don't know if anybody can do a better Joker than Bolland. So I think Bolland, yeah, you can make the case. He has definitely Judge Dredd as one of his legacy characters, but definitely, if there's a Joker artist, right? If there's an artist that you can just pin on if there's an artist you can pin on Joker, it would be Brian Bolland for sure. So there you go. Enjoy that. Another character where Boland's done a lot of sort of artwork and created a lot of, again, Batman titles aside, that The Killing Joke, but again, like this annual here in '89, with the Klan and Batman, kind of attacking in this image. That is just brilliant stuff. And I would really encourage people to go out and get this book. This is about as iconic of a cover as you can get, by Bolland. Definitely one of my favorite pieces in the collection by Bolland. But this is like dollar bin fodder, but it really is worth having, because this is the image. There's no other image where you will see this. It's just Detective Comics annual number 2 from 1989. And again, it's just provocative, but such a beautiful, and again, it encapsulates the kind of artist Bolland is, right? Bolland's not going to be doing like a bunch of like Care Bear covers or anything like that, or even Transformer. I mean, this is not his style. His style is the darker, the grittier, the more sort of horrific kind of images that you can imagine. He's going to just put it on the page and lay it out for you. And just look at the horse. Everything in this just screams like you either love this kind of artwork or you just hate it. And again, it took me years. It took me, because I did not appreciate this as a young, I shouldn't even say young child. I didn't appreciate it as like a middle schooler, because that's when I was introduced to Bolland's artwork through Killing Joke. That book actually traumatized me, and for some reason, when I see Bolland's style, this was when I was younger. when I used to see Bolland's artwork, I used to kind of block it out. I used to be like, "Oh man, that's Bolland work," and I would associate it with like negativity, and I never really appreciated it. Um, but now that I'm older and I've come back and I've been able to like kind of re-examine Bolland's eyes through a more mature lens. Oh man, um, I just I fell in love with his art, and to be honest, he's number 4 on my list. But when it's all said and done, I mean, he may be atop the list um, when all's said and done. Because as great as Neil Adams is, as great as Jim Lee is, as great as John Byrne, I just kind of revealed my list. As great as those artists are, there are things Brian Bolland can do that none of those artists can even come close to. And what I mean by that is, again, this style of comic book. It's, I don't know how to describe it. It's just kind of like, it's the comic book that it's going to just evoke a stronger emotive reaction or response from the viewer, from the viewer, right? It's not rainbows. Like he's not gonna draw an image where it's like, oh, that looks, like happy and nice. No, it's generally like um, sort of the darker side of uh, why we are compelled to like comic book stories, right? You obviously have the superhero stories, which is fine and dandy, but for a lot of the comic book history, or especially the earlier history, you've had kids who just wanted to be scared out of their wits reading horror genres and just, you know, stories that were just focused on the macabre and gruesome. So there you go. Yeah, Camelot 3000 is a great example of Bolland's work. But so much good stuff. I mean, it just really is not limited to any one thing. All right, let's get to the good stuff now, the Superman books. And mind you, we don't have like a broad, voluminous selection. These are literally all the quote unquote Superman related books I could find. And some of them are real stretches because they don't even have Superman. Case in point, we pulled out a Superman title, Action Comics, but no Superman to be seen. It's just this beautiful, sexy image. And that's the other thing about Bolland. He can do characters. He can do real, sort of bring a realism to his characters, his figures, his people. And nowhere is that more evident than on this cover here with, Black Canary. She's in this very kind of sexier new image. Definitely, yeah, and you can just see the kind of the personality there that's in the image. Absolutely genius. I mean, there are very few people who can kind of bring all that, just the subtle, like emotions you get through specific facial expressions, but you just see them there, the smile and the wry kind of grin and the eyes, right? Like she's communicating something a little mischievous, a little sinister. It's not just a straight smile. And that's where I think artists like John Byrne, Jim Lee, and even Neil Adams, they just fall short. Now they can all of those artists can obviously express emotion and express all those things on a page with their artwork, but there's just something like layered in Bolland's artwork, and as well as I think another artist that has that aspect is Michael Turner as well, and Alex Ross to a degree, because Alex Ross really deals in like photorealism in his artwork, so you oftentimes can see that in his artwork in the facial expressions that a lot of the characters have. But I think, again, the artists I mentioned, Bolland being among the best of them to really take, uh, expression and just subtlety of what the character's feeling, or um, what kind of tone or emotion they're exuding from just the image itself. That is truly a gift if you can accurately portray that. But I'm sure it's not just Bolland, and um, I don't know what it is. You either have a sense or you don't. It's not one of those things you can really teach. There's no, unless you're just a really good observer of like people's subtleties. You have to be able to read people in order to understand what maybe they're thinking or feeling, and then that observation has to be translated onto the page, and that's a really hard thing to uh, do. It's hard to read people, let alone take that reading and then accurately put it on a page where it captures that it's a sliver, it's a moment in time, but you're just capturing it like a camera, but with your memory and your hands. So that I think is the true genius of Brian Bolland. All right, here's another one. This one's actually a pretty comical one, and you can see Bolland can do like this is kind of a departure from what we're used to with Bolland, in terms of the dark, the gritty, and kind of the macabre images he can do effortlessly. But this is more of a comical, right? Like caricatures here. They're in costume. They kind of had funny sort of mannerisms and designs and presentations here. It's pretty funny, and it's definitely he's setting a very non-serious kind of fun tone here, which was the objective. So yeah, you just see the range with what he can communicate just through the artwork and the tone and style on covers like this. So there you go. I think that's number 7. Number 6, back to the kind of horror. This is Superman as some kind of alien demon here. It's a black and white sketch, but you got the red in the image that just really pops. Such a good piece here. And again, we've yet to really see Superman. You had Lex in a Superman suit. We have Superman here, but transformed. So we have yet to see an actual like straight Superman cover. And but we are getting to it. I do want to showcase that he can draw a Superman cover. This is like one of my favorite pieces too, because yeah, the Jack of Fables covers are really good. I haven't read Jack of Fables, but the art compels me to, at least, as I'm assuming he does the interiors on those. Although Bolland is primarily a cover artist, just because, like, I mean, when you're this good, it's kind of like you just want his services and you want to put as least strain on him as possible and sell as many comic books as possible. So all of these like artists that are on my list, the top 10 quote unquote artists, they're generally cover artists. I mean, some of them have an extensive, uh, bibliography of interior work, but for the most part, someone like Bolland's going to have more value just doing covers on a month-to-month basis. But yes, there are books like, I think, Jack of Fables. I don't know if Jack of Fables is interior work by Bolland, but I know there's like Camelot 3000 is definitely cover to cover Bolland, right? I don't think though, like he worked on an extensive uh, run on Animal Man for covers, but he didn't do anything on the interior. I believe that's the case for Jack of Fables too, but I think in the case of Jack of Fables, it's one where he might have started it and then come off. But yeah, for the most part, these long cover runs, he's only doing cover art. And case in point, he does he follows he's the artist to kind of take over the Wonder Woman Volume 2 run after Perez kind of calls it quits on that run. And he follows up and does another like 50 some odd issues on the book, but just covers. He doesn't take over on interiors. He just keeps the the title relevant with these beautiful images. I mean, his Wonder Woman covers are some of the best covers on a run ever. And again, he doesn't do anything related to the interior artwork or contribute to the stories. He just was assigned to do covers. And man, did he again that Wonder Woman run of covers are some of the best cover work. I think if you could just like be like, who had the best run of a cover run? We're just talking a cover run, right? You can make the argument in terms of the just the sure volume of covers he did. We're talking like 40 to 50 covers on this run here, and the quality of the images during that run. I mean, it's got to be one of the greatest comic runs of modern history. So enjoy this. This is just a bonus there. It's not even part of the list, but you get some Sigourney Weaver, early Alien vibes there. Man, is that good. That's just good stuff. All right, so we're getting to our first quote unquote Superman cover with the number 4 book in my collection. And we still don't get a full Superman. We get Superman with a Starro leech on his face. But this is just brilliant. You see, like, how he creates depth here with just the what do you call it? The shapes of the Starros there coming out of the tentacles there, on the building as well. Just man, it's so good. And it really shows you the range again, because even though there's sort of like an underlying kind of ominous tone to this, it's not straight up dark. It's more sort of like a traditional like superhero type cover, like where heroes are fighting something, there's action going on. So it's not straight up like a horror image or anything, but the underlying like gravity of what's happening here is pretty serious and can be construed as dark. Definitely it has sort of like a chilling effect, like that eye there, just that blank eye stare is it's kind of frightening, right? So That's good stuff. And we're going to come back to this book in a minute. But yeah, here we go. This is the first real Superman image that we're getting. Finally, we get a look at what Bolland Superman, if he had done any kind of interior type assignment on Superman, what his Superman would look like. And man, I don't think there's anybody at DC who would say, dude can't draw Superman. There's a lot of artists where you could say like, hey, do Superman, and then look at it and be like, dude, you can't draw Superman. And we're talking about some of the greatest artists ever, in that are fan favorites. Like Todd McFarlane can't draw Superman. I'm sorry, he just can't. Bernie Wrightson, if you go back and look at Bernie Wrightson Superman, not great. Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing, Bernie Wrightson Batman, yeah, I'll buy that all day long. But a Bernie Wrightson Superman looks like absolute garbage. Another person who got to do Superman, I wouldn't say his Superman's garbage, but at the same time, his Superman isn't like, quote unquote, what we think of Superman, right? It's not like that great. Joe Kubert. Joe Kubert had a limited work on Superman. The thing is, like, when you get to Joe Kubert status, you will get invitations to do Superman, because they have sometimes these like art gallery type books where they just invite all the senior most people, like, hey, do Superman, draw, contribute to that. And that becomes kind of their little legacy and contribution to having worked on the book or contributed to the character in some way. And so, Joe Kubert definitely has those, and he doesn't do a bad job. He does actually a really stellar job, but I wouldn't call it quintessential, like following the IP or design standards to a T type work. Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, that is like, I mean, you want to talk about somebody who you would assign to just design things for with the character, right? If you were to say, hey, let's design a lunchbox, you'd put an artist like that on it. I don't know if you'd put Joe Kubert on that list. And so other artists who've worked on Superman, but without the greatest Superman, you have Jack Kirby. Obviously, garbage Superman there. Carmine Infantino. You'd think Carmine Infantino would do an amazing Superman. No, his Superman is rather comical. And the list goes on. So, you can be a talented artist, but still not be talented enough to get the assignment for Superman. You really have to draw Superman in a specific way. And fortunately, I think Bolland, although I think Bolland's strengths are not necessarily drawing a Superman book, Bolland is showing here, like, if he had worked on the book, he would do a damn fine job. But Bolland Superman is a little bit different. He's got kind of a more serious, less friendly look. He definitely has the anatomy down for sure, but there's just something a little bit more serious, maybe a little bit more stoic, less sort of Kansas, more sort of like, I don't know, like Jean-Claude Van Damme or something. I don't know, just something a little bit off, a little bit more ethnic in the face as well, I would say. But this is, wait, why are we going with this here? This is not we're not at number one yet. What we're doing is we're going back to number 2 on the list. And this is number 2. And this is, again, kind of a continuation of this initial cover, but it's gone to full fruition. The Starro's taken over the planet. And this looks funny at first. When you just kind of look at the image on first glance, you think, oh, they've got starfishes on their faces. But then when you start thinking about, oh, wait, what's going on here? Starro literally has like, brain. He's has the most powerful beings on Earth. He's controlling them now with these, mind control, again, leeches that he kind of um, generates. And man, when you put it in that context, like, oh my goodness, there's no one to save us. It truly is frightening because he's controls now all the living creatures. So yeah, just a very uh, kind of macabre, dark, horrifying cover here. Um, uh, in again, I don't think a lot of artists could pull off something that's kind of like looks comical on the surface, but is kind of terrifying as a concept, terrifying underneath. It's just, yeah, a few artists could successfully do that. But man, is that that's a brilliant cover right there. And again, more evidence when he does do the face that he could do all the characters there. All right, you just got a little taste of number one. This is the number one Bolland Superman related book, and it's my favorite. It's Mullet Superman, and you got Wonder Woman there as well. Again, we talk about this Wonder Woman cover run, which I think arguably is the best cover run by an artist in comic books. It's just, again, the quality, the range of images, the volume, the consistency. It's just, legendary cover after legendary cover, month to month. And I think this is one of the peak ones in the run, obviously, because you got Superman in there, whom I'm biased toward. But just because, like, come on. There's some underlying tension here going on with this embrace. And Superman's trying to be like a superhero, but also trying, like knowing his limitations as a male species here. But man, look at the faces. My goodness. And again, the mullet, look at that. So distinctive there. And again, so in line with the character. I think in terms of the face, you can make an argument that, yeah, Superman would never be this sort of like stern looking, kind of serious. He has more of like a friendly, kind of mild mannered quality about his face, right? He's gonna be like a David Corn Sweat, literally like the guy next door, kind of just wide, goofy grin, kind of like a nerd slash good looking guy slash, you know, uh, physically formidable type character. And obviously that's kind of where we lose that in terms of Boland's interpretation. But again, I think it's just a conversation maybe you might have with the editor. Hey, let's not make him like this in every panel. You got to kind of create a lighter side of the character. So this is just obviously just one image. And in the context of this, whatever's going on here, it works. But yeah, you obviously wouldn't want to keep that mug throughout an entire story of artwork. But yeah, we get an inkling of it right there. And that is the #1 book. Just beautiful right there. And I'm glad I could share it with you guys. So there you go. That is my top 10 Superman related books by Brian Bolland, who's the #4 artist on 10 top 10 artist lists. And we're going to come back tomorrow and continue with our #3 artist. And again, I gave away sort of the last portion of them, but only if you were truly following along. So if you weren't truly following along and still want to know who my top 3 artists are, tune in tomorrow when we uncover #3 and continue to just wait for the content. But yeah, #3 artist is no slouch. Another legend that we're going to cover, and man, are we going to have fun with it? Because again, the last 3 artists that I'm going to cover, you can make a strong, very, very strong argument that Superman is like a character for all 3 of them. And the reason it's a strong argument is because they would probably be the first ones to admit to you, and they have mentioned it through interviews and whatnot, that Superman is their favorite character, right? So he's their character, and Superman's that's just the case for a lot of artists. You talk to a lot of artists, guys like Jack Kirby, guys like especially people in the Silver Age. They love Superman as a kid, right? Alex Ross, same thing. He loved Batman, all the DC characters, but he grew up like loving Superman, like wearing the costume his mom got him, and just that was he didn't wear normal clothes. Alex Ross, I think, for a lot of his like kindergarten and first grade years, literally wore like a Superman costume every day, because that's kind of like who he wanted to be, and that's what got him into doing artwork and drawing these perfecting his craft through just drawing his favorite characters all day. I mean, that's passion right there. And so there are a lot of comic book creatives. Todd McFarlane's another great example, who's expressed on many a level that Superman is his favorite character. He read Superman comics growing up. It's his favorite character. I mean, there's just an endless line of people in the industry who have Superman as their favorite character. Hence, when they work on Superman, when they get an opportunity to do Superman as a legacy character, they go all out. And that's kind of what we're going to see with our last 3 artists. And that's what I'm excited to continue to feature with the time we have remaining this year. So I'm going to do the top 3 artists. And then as our finale, I'm hoping to get another small haul in before the year's out. But I do have an update that is pretty significant. It's major. And that is, we lost an LCS in this region. And I may have mentioned this in a previous video, but I didn't talk about it in depth because I didn't know the details around the closure. And I still don't know the full details around the closure. But Milky Comics, one of our favorite places to go bargain bin hunting because they had 50-cent bins. Well, Russ closed up that shop. That business is no longer at that location. I think there's talk of he might open a physical location down the road or something, but for the most part, he has moving forward without a physical location. He's only doing online sales and online, presence through eBay and his website. So you can still get books, but you can't do it the traditional way. You got to just buy whatever's posted on his resale sites. That's a big loss. It's a huge loss because, I mean, now if I want to get comic books, especially the 20, and I gotta admit, like, as great as I think it is to have Jeff back, Jeff does not have the volumes and volumes of quarter bin books, and Jeff is focusing more on higher grade stuff and his like comic book wall, which is like this huge wall now. He's got literally like big high ceiling that house an entire 3 or 4 walls of comic books. So like hundreds and hundreds of books on the wall now. And he has them priced to grade and all that. They're bigger books. So nothing for the bargain hunter to really have in terms of selection. His quarter bin books are all garbage. They're literal garbage. There used to be, like, if you hunted and looked, you could find a lot of quality quarter bin books. But now the quarter bin books have been reduced to maybe 5 or 6, long boxes, maybe short boxes, 5 or 6 short boxes. And they're just garbage condition, 90s, 80s, like modern fodder. So quarter bin books at Jeff's is just not an option anymore. Jeff's shop has now become more about, if you want a back issue and you want it in high grade and you want a fair price for it, as well as bigger wall books, that's kind of his shop's MO now. And to be honest, like, it's still a good thing. I think when I have money or whatever and I want some bigger books, it's a shop I can pop in and see what he has. But in terms of the value that we used to get, Jeff's shop is no longer reliable for that. So we lost 2 reliable sources of 50-cent and quarter bin books. And now I'm just kind of reserved to like shows and stuff for that kind of stuff, which is fine. I think that's what we can do I really had fun at Grit City this past time and picked up a lot of cool books. So assuming Grit City doesn't like change in its nature and doesn't up its admission fee and all that, I think that's one we'll try to hit next year as well we won't go so crazy in the summer where we don't have any budget for Grit City. We'll probably keep a certain reserved amount. I find like $100 to $200 is like a good chunk of change to take to Grit City, because again, you're gonna be doing $1 to $2 bin diving for quality stuff. So I just hope, because I think next year when we go, Randy's Readers, I think his shop is called Randy's like Vintage Readers or something like that. I'm hoping Randy's Vintage Readers will give more of a volume discount next time we shop there, because again, we picked up a lot of books, like a stack like this, try to get a discount. Dude wouldn't budge, which is uncharacteristic of him. He was kind of like, oh man, I underpriced these as is. Like, he was like, dude, no, you're at a show, you gotta work with the buyers. And when he did pull that kind of crap, I was like, shit, I'm not buying all this from you. I'm gonna whittle it down. And I whittled it down to like exactly what I would buy, like what I would just absolutely bare minimum buy from him, and just got those books at full value. So I mean, if he's going to pull that crap next show, then, we'll go somewhere else for the books. But he does have sort of the best prices and selection for that range of books. Just, again, dude, I get it, but when I'm coming to you with a big stack, you gotta lower it. You gotta haggle at least, right? Don't just be like, no, can't do anything for that. I mean, you lost out on a good $30 additional because you wouldn't budge on that position. So yeah, hey, it's been tough. So we lost two. We lost Mill Geek Comics, and not that we lost Ancient Comics. Ancient Comics actually came back, but we lost what we loved about Ancient Comics, the bargain bins there. And Jeff's making money hand over fist, so I think business has to kind of die off, and he has to maybe feel the financial strain. But the way his new shop is set up, he's getting a lot of new customers. His old customers have all come back, and he's now with the wall constantly revolving with good stuff just coming in and out. He's got like local people like constantly hitting him up to see what's new and what they need to kind of get before it sells, right? So when you have that kind of traffic and that kind of like, customer loyalty, it's like you can structure that towards your client base. So Jeff is no longer catering to guys like me. He's catering to some of the bigger hunters who come in for like, Spider-Man, X-Men keys and like rare books and all that. So again, obviously I'm going to continue to hit up Jeff's and see what's in the quarter bin books. But for the most part, that quarter bin hasn't been refreshed. It's a lot of garbage. So I'm never going to go there to actually just get quarter bin books. I'm going to go there for, if I have a budget, see what's there. But it's not a primary place for me anymore. Again, if I have budget, luckily now Kirkland, Belkirk Coin and Stamp, that's kind of my calling these days because of his selection of Superman books, Silver Age Superman books. But I think right now, let's say I have $100 and I want to get Superman books, I want to get like the Silver, Bronze Age, Golden Age pickups. I think All American Comics is my shop for that now. And I've gotten a lot of great deals. And Jason there has really a great selection of Silver Age books that don't move. So I know if I go in there and kind of just haggle and try to find the books that I want, and again, there are books that I want there. I can't get everything, so I have to kind of just like pace. But again, go there with some money and say, hey, what would you take for this stack? He'll ask me, what do you want for it? I name my price. He kind of goes up on it, and we kind of meet up in the middle. That's what I love. So I love a shop that does that versus just like, no, I'm not going to give it to you for that price. And that, that's the thing Jeff does too. Jeff is great at haggling. If you give him a price, he'll say, no, give me this. And you kind of land in the middle somewhere. And if that's what your customers want and stuff, like, yeah, you can be a little firm. If I'm lowballing you can be a little firm, say, no, I can't go lower than this. At least that's a conversation, right? But when you kind of adamantly say, no, I can't give you any kind of discount, which is what Randy's Vintage Readers did last time. I don't know, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth and you don't necessarily want to spend a lot. So it's not necessarily about supporting your business. It's more about me getting books at a price I think is fair, right? So yeah, Randy, if you're watching this, man, next time I'm at your booth, please keep that in mind. I would have bought a lot more stuff from your shop had you just, you know, had you just been accommodating. I know it's just right at the beginning of the show, and maybe you thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of business today, but you know, just don't come with the attitude like, no, I gotta like get every cent out of this guy because he's just gonna accept whatever price I'm gonna. No, that's not me, dude. That'll never be me. All right, well, yeah, we're gonna do our top pickups of 2025, the whole year, and the thing is, this was the summer of Superman. We're gonna just keep it Superman focused. So I'm gonna do the top 25 Superman books I picked up this year, as well as the top 25 non-Superman related books that I picked up this year. So you'll get 50 books in all, because I think that's a true showcase of what I picked up this year. Just so much goodness. 25 is really not fair in terms of representing what I picked up this year. So we're going with those two lists: top 25 Superman books of 2025 that we picked up, as well as the top 25 non-Superman books pickups for this year. And then, we'll focus, maybe do a session looking out to 2026 and what we're targeting in 2026. Obviously, we're targeting stuff we didn't pick up in 2025. So there are books. And I will say, like, sometimes a book that you are just feverishly focused and kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Feverishly, just crazily obsessed with. Those obsessions, given time, will fade. And case in point, I was, for the last 3 summers, I wanted to pick up Batman 241, which is the famous Joker cover by Neil Adams. And I wanted that book. I thought that was like, okay, that's the book I want. It's one of the most quintessential, works by Neil Adams. And I just was obsessed with it. Like, going back 3 summers, like there were like 4 or 5 opportunities where I was like in the market for it, right? I had the budget. I was ready to get, because I didn't even want a high grade copy. I wanted anything like kind of mid-ish to low grade, right? Something presentable. And I had maybe 3. I even actually bought the book, but then got a refund because I changed my mind on it. But I've had multiple opportunities to get the book. And then the summer of Superman rolls around, and then I realize that's a big book. You got to throw down $300 dollars or more on that book. And I've come to realize, like, for $300, I don't need that book in my collection. Like, obviously it's a book I want still, but I'm not obsessed about having it in my collection anymore. So I'm kind of glad that I've come to that realization. I bought a facsimile copy, and I can look at that and still appreciate Neil Adams' work. And I'm happy with a $3.99 copy versus a $300-$400 copy raw in my collection. So I'm content with that. So there are other bigger Neil Adams books now where I can get them for under $200, and I just consider those better books than the Joker book at this point. So Um, that is kind of what we're going to focus on in 2026, and I'll reveal to you what some of those books are. I did bid on one recently, one of the copies that I'm trying to add, but I got outbid. That is another book that's kind of like just climbing in price. So I think if we don't pick it up in 2026, it may be something that'll continue to like edge higher and higher. Maybe we get priced out, but never say never. You know, there's always opportunities to get the book at the price you want in the grade you want. So that's where our focus will be for next year. And we have a bunch of books like that in 2026. So, you know, I've kind of broadened the boundaries of my collection. I'm no longer like saying, hey, you know, I need to keep everything in the filing cabinet. I've kind of branched out to like, okay, we can add probably another good 2 or 3 short boxes of books. So we got more to come next year. We're not going to be tethered by any kind of space requirements. We are prepared to add, again, probably 300 to 400 more books next year. Gym Lee stuff included, but mostly hoping to pick up super bad stuff. I do feel good about branching out, yes. In terms of the space, right? I think you know, I've just come to the realization, like when I try to just cap my collection, like I have to cap my collection, but when I do that, I realize like it saps all the fun out of collecting, because you're basically saying, well, I can collect to X amount of issues and then I'm done, right? Like, are we truly ever done? I don't think any comic book collector is ever done. So whether it's about making more space, or whether it's about cycling in and out books, or trading for stuff, right? Things that you probably liked when you picked them up, now you're not so keen on, right? Those kinds of things do happen. Happens to me, so it happens to everybody. But for the most part, my core collection is growing, and I can't cycle those in or out. So the only other option is to either, again, give books away, which I'm not going to do, or find a way to kind of more efficiently use my save space to add more books and add the books and be so focused to where we're adding the books that we want. So that's kind of where I am right now. And I've come to peace with the fact that, yes, at least through 2026, maybe even through 2027, we're going to just continue to pick up books at a good clip until we have about an additional 2 or 3 short boxes of books. So there you go. Yeah, you know, I have a bunch of graphic novels as well. But I have them more for my personal enjoyment, right? Just like reading. I don't consider it a collection. None of my graphic novels are like first prints or anything like that. A lot of them are soft cover. Just pull one off the list here. I do have hardback editions. For example, I have I have the Paper Girls hardback edition. I have what is it called? The Wicked, the Divine hardback edition. And they're like, it's volumes of it, so it's like several hardback volumes of graphic novels as well, complete collections of that. But yeah, most of my graphic novels are like kind of like these paperback editions. This is obviously a classic. That Menu one, that's Kelly and Frank Miller. We also have the Dark Phoenix Saga, Byrne Claremont there. This is just classic stuff here. So, I mean, and these are just, again, for enjoyment. I don't collect these. It's just for reading pleasure. So, yeah. But yeah, I get having to like, that takes up a lot of space. You know, if I were collecting like actual whole runs or collections in omnibus or graphic novel format, it would just we'd run out of bookshelf space rather quickly. So I think that's part of the calculus as to why I don't collect it, because yeah, it probably is at the end of the day a space issue in the end. Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing about, I think, collecting larger volumes or collected volumes is you read them, right? It's not just something you collect. You like, for example, like um this this is a good read. This is just kind of like you sit down and you open the pages up and you get to just, you don't have to worry about condition or anything. You just sit in your bed or at your desk, open it up, and just get absorbed in the comic book. So love stuff like this. It's just I don't collect it. That's the only downside there. Okay. Yeah. Wow. 4,000 to a couple. Wow. Yeah, yeah. You were telling me about the sort of the um was it the 25th anniversary of the, is it 20? I think it's longer, right? I want to say it's like the 35th anniversary of the Death of Superman, whatever. I did read that collection. So the interesting thing of uh, the re-release of the anniversary edition of that is they had kind of follow-up stories, right? That added additional like context or nuance to the main story. And it was done by contemporary artists and some of the older writers and all that, which is cool because it maintains some newness, but also maintains the tone of the older original works. But the thing I appreciated most about that collected edition was the the forward by Jurgens, the sort of the interviews and the people's take on how they came up with the project and kind of the behind the scenes stuff that was going on that led to the development of that. That was the fascinating stuff, because it was literally like the Jurgens and like was it Conway? No, it was Ordway. It was Ordway and Jurgens who were just like sitting around, and they're like, what if we killed Superman? It was just like, why not? It's kind of like once they came to the realization, like, yeah, let's kill Superman. It just was like a steamroll, it was like a rock, a boulder down a hill. It's like once they gave it a little push of killing Superman off, it's like they got a team of people together who were very coordinated on how they wanted to do it and how they would build out not only the death but the return, because they wouldn't keep Superman dead. That's what I really appreciated about it. They saw the larger opportunity there to like, um, you know, but yeah, again, the backstory on that and how it came. And obviously, we saw it play out in the page of the comic books, but just having that whole better understanding of that project was the best part of that collected edition. So yeah, thanks for cueing me into that and making sure I read it, because that was for me the biggest value of that anniversary piece. Just getting all the nuanced interviews and backstories on how the creators like approached it, right? So that was brilliant. Oh, the Absolute's a large size. Okay. I think I was talking about the anniversary edition for the death, but yeah, there's DC obviously is gonna. I mean, that's, I think in the 90s that was like one of the best selling runs for the company. Definitely the biggest PR vehicle, because when you told people like, oh, we're killing Superman's dead, like he died, and like, what? Like, it just like you had like everybody being like, wait, they killed off Superman? Why? And then people being curious and picking up that book and reading it and wanting to understand like how they did it. And so you had this sort of larger non-comic book following of people getting the book and getting into the story, but you also had the core hardcore people who were collecting comic books and were like, oh wait, I'm into X-Men, but let me see what's going on in Superman, and see, and then they would buy into it and saw it to its end point. So it brought in a lot of fans, comic that were collectors, as well as sort of more surface level fans, and then just people who like Superman, kind of on a more not comic book related but more pop culture related level, being curious. So it was an interesting time. All right, well, that's gonna do it for me tonight, and we're gonna be back here doing the next top artist on my list. And again, we've kind of went over how I'm gonna approach the content to put out before the end of the year, and then we'll do a end of the year show where we look forward to what we're doing in 2026 collection related. So thanks for joining, guys. We'll see you tomorrow in the next one. Peace out.